Picture this. You get publicly humiliated for a spilled bottle of champagne, and 10 days later your math brings down a billionaire's wife, a global smuggling ring, and an entire empire's fake perfection. Now let's rewind to the moment the deck went quiet. Get that mess cleaned up before someone important sees it. Isabella Rothschild's voice sliced through the Mediterranean air like a scalpel. The Dom Perignon 1996 had detonated across the Serenity Magnus, a 200-foot super yacht floating off Monaco like a palace that forgot gravity existed. Crystal shards glittered on the teak beside a Persian rug that cost more than most people's homes. 30 billionaires and their polished entourage paused mid-laugh, mid-deal, mid-sip to watch the spectacle as if it were scheduled entertainment. Ariana Blake knelt among the sharp wreckage, blood threading down her palm onto white marble so pristine it felt like a warning. Her name tag had flown off in the collision and now lay face down, mercifully hiding the part she'd learned never to display in this world. She could feel their eyes doing silent arithmetic, what she was worth, what space she was allowed to occupy, how fast she should disappear. Isabella stood over her with a smile as bright and cold as broken glass. "Perhaps you should find work that doesn't require so much coordination," she said. The word coordination delivered like a joke to people who had never been coordinated by anyone but money. Ariana closed her fingers around the fallen tag, and in that tiny motion was a decision Isabella didn't see. What Isabella didn't know about coordination was about to dismantle her entire operating system. Earlier that morning, Ariana had adjusted her catering uniform 3 times in her cramped service cabin, not from vanity, but from a kind of anxious calibration. After 8 months in luxury catering, she developed the muscle memory of invisibility, move cleanly, speak softly, accept the casual disrespect as if it were background noise. Today's event wasn't a wedding or a charity lunch. It was a private celebration of Magnus Rothschild's latest acquisition, 3 private jets, $60 million each, parked like trophies under a Mediterranean sky. The supervisor, Janet, barked orders without looking up. "Move faster. These people don't have all day." Ariana bit down on her reply and set crystal flutes on silver trays with a precision she didn't share out loud. She could have optimized this whole service flow in 10 minutes, but nobody wanted efficiency models from the help. Guests arrived by helicopter and tender boat in a parade of inherited wealth and corporate dynasties. Tech moguls tossed around market-shaping strategies like they were fantasy football stats. Pharma executives joked about regulatory capture the way normal people joke about traffic. Oil men spoke in smooth sentences engineered to make environmental damage sound like a PR challenge. Their clothes cost more than Ariana's entire year. Their laughter carried that easy arrogance of people who had never met a boundary they couldn't buy through. Ariana drifted through them like a ghost, invisible but listening, because when you've trained in systems, you learn something early. People reveal the blueprint of their world when they assume you can't read it. Then Isabella Rothschild entered. She descended the spiral staircase as if the yacht were a runway built for her feet alone. Chanel gown, platinum hair catching the sun, posture calibrated for dominance. She was Magnus's 3rd wife, 2 decades younger, and the real gatekeeper in this floating kingdom. The whispers said she controlled who got invited, who got invested in, who got quietly erased from circles that mattered from Monaco to Martha's Vineyard. She wielded social power like a blade, precise, quiet, and meant to cut without leaving fingerprints. Isabella air-kissed a pharmaceutical heiress and dropped a line with just enough venom to ripple. Black. Articulate meant surprisingly intelligent for someone like you. Help meant disposable. Ariana carried champagne, eyes down, ears open, surviving in a room where the wrong glance could cost you your job. When a tech billionaire praised Magnus's supply chain efficiency, Magnus smiled and nodded toward Isabella. She suggested streamlining our logistics operations. She has quite the eye for efficiency. The line was tossed off like a compliment, but to Ariana it landed like a sensor spike. Socialites don't talk about logistics unless they've lived in it. Supply chain optimization wasn't yacht party vocabulary. Ariana filed it away the way engineers file anomalies, not proof, not yet, but not noise either. Isabella drifted near Ariana as she offered refills. "Finally, proper service," Isabella said, scanning Ariana like a price tag. "But be careful, Magnus can't tolerate mistakes." The threat was honeyed but lethal. Then Isabella's eyes narrowed. "What's your background, dear?" "You seem different from the usual staff." Ariana knew that tone. Polite curiosity used as a probe. She almost answered honestly once. Midst supply chain management, logistics, optimization, systems analysis, then she didn't. She had removed credentials from her tag months earlier for a reason. Her education didn't impress people like Isabella. It threatened them. Better to be underestimated than unemployed. The afternoon rolled on until Isabella asserted dominance the way she always did, with plausibly deniable cruelty. Ariana was serving near the main gathering when Isabella stepped sideways into her path with the timing of someone who knows how to create accidents. Ariana saw the angle, the pause, the pivot too late. The bottle launched from her hands, crystal burst champagne fanned across the deck and died into the Persian rug like spilled blood. 30 conversations snapped off. 30 pairs of rich eyes locked onto the kneeling black woman amid shards. Isabella's voice traveled across the stunned deck. Soft, entertained, complicit. Ariana cleaned up in silence, palm bleeding. Dignity burning, Isabella announced to the guests she'd have the agency replace Ariana immediately. "We can't have this level of incompetence." The old playbook, humiliate, public erase, professionally move on. Janet apologized. Guests resumed laughing. Isabella basked in it like sunlight. Ariana walked toward the service exit, feeling their world slide her into the trash chute they reserve for people they don't have to remember. But the day had handed her a key. Isabella had bragged about streamlining logistics, and she'd done it with the kind of specificity that only comes from real operational involvement. That night, Ariana sat in her tiny Queens apartment secondhand couch, uniform still on, MIT diploma staring down at her like an accusation. 4 years of modeling supply networks, optimizing flows, breaking down system failures, reduced to mopping up champagne for people who thought she was furniture. Rejection letters stacked on her coffee table. "We pursued other candidates. Your qualifications don't align with our culture." Corporate code can be elegant, but the underlying logic was the same. Brilliant black women are a risk you don't take if your comfort depends on staying unchallenged. Student loan payments due in 12 days. Savings barely covering 2 weeks of rent. Isabella's blacklist would choke off even the catering income. Ariana did the math the way she'd been trained to do it. Cold, exact, honest, 14 days before eviction, 6 days of groceries, 0 new income. Survival wasn't an emotion, it was a spreadsheet. Still, that logistics comment kept looping. Why would Magnus credit Isabella with supply chain decisions? What efficiency improvements had she made in a luxury aviation empire built on privacy and discretion? Ariana opened her laptop and started looking at the Rothschild Empire private jets, yachts, high-end transport for ultra-wealthy clients. Public numbers looked clean. Reported flight schedules to fuel consumption patterns, passenger manifests to cargo weights, maritime logs to docking times. And the data didn't close. Not by a rounding error, by a pattern. Routes that made no economic sense for luxury travel. Fuel burns suggesting heavier loads or longer paths than stated cargo weights that didn't match high net worth passengers and luggage. If this were a normal operation, it would trigger an internal audit. In a criminal operation, it means someone is moving something they don't want logged. She dug deeper, building a timeline. The more she mapped, the clearer it got. These weren't occasional anomalies. These were systematic. The efficiency Isabella had injected into the network wasn't about customer satisfaction. It was about concealment. You don't optimize a logistics system that hard unless you're flowing high-value cargo through high-risk bottlenecks. Ariana's stomach tightened into that familiar engineer's dread the moment you realize a system isn't just flawed. It's being used for something it was never designed for. The next morning, Janet texted Ariana was off the roster. 3 agencies rejected her politely within hours. Isabella's blacklist was rolling exactly as expected, but Ariana was already running a different program. In 3 days, she reconstructed a shadow supply chain inside the Rothschild luxury network. International cargo flow hidden behind society events, weight distributions adjusted on jets that should have been flying, empty route deviations, aligned with cities where private customs clearance could be handled. She saw Isabella's social calendar line up with suspicious cargo moves like clockwork, usually 48 hours apart. Enough time to secure contacts, prep paperwork, establish cover stories. Isabella wasn't a bored wife dabbling in business. She was running an international smuggling operation through her husband's fleet, using high society as camouflage and logistics optimization as the engine. Yacht party, Ariana slipped in through a different agency, not yet contaminated by the blacklist. She stayed invisible, but her ears were tuned. Isabella publicly mocked her again, but in doing so, she kept talking logistics, complexity coordination, cargo optimization, like a professional, not a socialite. It confirmed everything. Service staff noticed too. Maria, a veteran server, warned Ariana quietly that Isabella was asking questions about her background. She knows you're MIT, Maria breathed. She's scared that mattered. When a system starts targeting a variable, it means that variable threatens stability. The invisible workforce servers, cleaners, mechanics, cooks formed its own information network the wealthy never see. They whispered, they shared, they protected each other because that's how you survive in a world that treats you as replaceable. Through them, Ariana got access to something better than rumor. Maintenance logs, cargo tweaks, off-the-books loading requests, altered passenger jet configurations, designed to increase hidden capacity while keeping luxury appearances. Isabella had the mechanics making subtle modifications. She had housekeepers overhearing video calls in multiple languages. She had jet supervisors seeing forged paperwork. She was operating at scale, and her scale required secrecy so absolute she crushed anyone who might notice. The Monaco Grand Prix weekend gala was 10 days away, Isabella's crown jewel. 250 guest diplomatic complications everywhere, security softened by glamour and money. Ariana's models predicted a massive cargo move, timed to the event 12 jets route alignments that screamed high-value controlled pharmaceuticals. Federal investigators were already sniffing the edges, but without a clean narrative of intent and coordination they'd get. Stonewalled by wealth and lawyers, Ariana did what engineers do when a problem is bigger than one person. She integrated the network. Maria connected her to Sophie, the housekeeper, to James, the jet maintenance lead. Each node added data. Each link made the system legible. 3 days before the gala, Sophie delivered the final piece, an overheard planning call with Dubai, Singapore, Geneva. Isabella, calling it her largest efficiency optimization yet, referencing forged customs documentation and diplomatic pouch protocols. That wasn't a hunch anymore. That was the flowchart. Ariana built a comprehensive evidence package. Correlations, anomalies, timelines, manifests, fuel math, social route synchronization. She uploaded copies to secure places and arranged a contingency with a federal contact through a journalist who specialized in supply chain crime. Because Ariana wasn't just fighting for revenge. She was fighting to survive. Isabella's security team had escalated from blacklisting to targeting, and people who threatened 12-figure operations disappear. So Ariana engineered a trap. At the Monaco Gala, with the Serenity Magnus lit up like a floating city, Ariana didn't come as a waitress. She came as a variable Isabella couldn't control anymore. A helicopter landed on the forward pad, official, scheduled, impossible to deny. Ariana stepped out in a tailored suit, calm as a surgeon, carrying a portfolio that might as well have been a live wire. Guests turned in confusion. Magnus approached, curious and cautious. Ariana extended her hand like a professional because she was one. Mr. Rothschild, Ariana Blake, MIT Supply Chain Management, International Logistics Security. I'm here because your aviation network is showing systematic anomalies that will trigger federal action unless addressed immediately. She laid out the evidence with quiet precision: cargo weights, inconsistent with luxury travel, fuel burns mapping to hidden routes, social events aligned with suspicious moves. Magnus's face changed as he read. You could see the engineering mind in him waking up. Disbelief, then pattern recognition, then the kind of cold anger that you realize your own system has been hijacked. Ariana didn't need drama. The data did that. She finished by stating what the numbers implied. These anomalies are coordinated through your wife's social calendar. Her efficiency improvements are consistent with international pharmaceutical smuggling. Tonight's gala is scheduled to cover the largest move yet. Silence spread across the deck like a pressure drop. Isabella froze, then exploded with denial, but her voice landed hollow against charts that matched reality. Magnus turned to her, betrayal heavy in his eyes. Isabella, what have you been doing with my company? The crowd backed away from Isabella as if proximity could become liability. Ariana stayed calm, letting the system run to conclusion. Federal flags were already in motion. Letters, warrants, surveillance. Ariana's evidence closed the loop, Isabella cracked. The queen of this world dropped to her knees on polished teak, sobbing apologies that came too late. Cameras captured everything. Magnus, wrecked but lucid, offered Ariana a role on the spot chief supply chain officer publicly. So the entire elite ecosystem saw the reversal in real time. The woman Isabella mocked for coordination was now running the real coordination. 1 year later, Ariana sat in an executive suite overlooking Monaco Harbor, her MIT diploma framed without shame, her name no longer hidden on a tag but printed on contracts that mattered. Rothschild empire ran clean under compliance systems Ariana designed. Transparency, audit trails, anomaly detection, the kind of safeguards that prevent criminals from piggybacking legitimate flow. Isabella served time in federal prison, her assets forfeited, her partners prosecuted, funded scholarships for minority students in supply chain and systems engineering, because she knew exactly how dangerous competence can be to a corrupt system and how necessary it is anyway. The name tag from that first day sat on her desk as a reminder that the world will try to label you small when it benefits them. But the truth is built into what you know and what you can prove. Isabella engineered her own collapse with one arrogant miscalculation. She assumed the person she humiliated couldn't read the system. She was wrong. And in the end, real coordination, didn't belong to the woman in diamonds. It belonged to the woman who understood the flow.